All right, guys, welcome to our public office hours. My name is Natasha Todorovic-Cowan, and every week what we're going to tackle is a particular topic and subject, and I'll do a very brief presentation, about 10 to 15 minutes. So if you're watching this on the replay, you will get the presentation part of it, but you're not going to get the question and answer part of it. And so we'll do the presentation, and then there's a question and answer, and it's an Ask Me Anything office hours. So let's just get started. So the way this works, and actually last week what we tackled was the mystery, answering the mystery of spiral dynamics. So let's just get this working for you. Okay. So again, it's an Ask Me Anything session, and your questions are welcome. We tackled the mystery of spiral dynamics last week, and we opened a dialogue for interested and ethical parties who are sincerely looking to find ways to crack their people problems, whether it's leadership or teams, whether it's getting certified in our approach and learning how to use our scientifically validated tools and assessments. This is what we're trying to tackle here. So let's see, what did I want to cover? Okay, we'll just keep going. So my goals for you for this round is consider what reentry means in this transitioning out of lockdown into a kind of COVID concerned world. And part of it is acknowledging the shifts and the changes that have happened and will be happening. So, and also to consider how spiral dynamics might be able to support you. So if you're new to me, if you're new to spiral dynamics, whether you've heard about it before, elsewhere, whether we've worked together in depth, this short session will help you not only with reentry, from our COVID timeout, but also with any shifts or pivots or transitions or transformations that you might be going through, even if it is post-COVID. So last week, again, and I definitely do recommend that you take a look at this particular video. It's available for you. Look at the session. We discuss what spiral dynamics is and what it is not. So the replay contains really what I see as the most common misperceptions around spiral dynamics. So for example, last week we said it's not a model, it's not about consciousness, it's not a framework, it's not values. So as I often say, if people can't understand simply what spiral dynamics is and what it is not, then how can they understand an approach that deals with the complexity of human nature as it is and as it is shifting and changing and transforming? So if you're still wondering what spiral dynamics is, definitely catch that replay. All right, so reentry and the post-COVID world and how to adapt. So think back to maybe the last significant change in your life. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe there was a significant market shift. And we know that's been happening with this. Maybe it was falling out with a friend or a partner or a divorce, or maybe it was the impact that COVID had on you and your family and your friends. So whatever it was, there was a shock of some kind. Maybe there was a period of trying to understand what the heck just happened? What was that? And trying to make sense of it and trying to explain it and trying to find the story that made sense so your brain could settle into moving forward. Maybe you spent during the COVID lockdown, maybe you ended up in that change and that transformation, spending time reading the books that you couldn't wait to read, or spending more time with friends, learning Zoom or other technological ways of maintaining relationships. Or maybe you rebuilt relationships with a spouse or children or family. Or maybe you made a new friend. Or maybe you saw relationships breaking down. Whatever happened, things changed. You adapted. The people around you were adapting. And you learned a little bit about you, about what you liked, about what you didn't like, about what you could absorb, about what change readiness meant, what resilience meant, about how you could summon up courage or creativity or innovation to tackle things in different ways. And you learned things, and some of the things that you learned, you shared with others, and some of the things that others shared, they learned, they shared with you. And some people are still trying to find a way out or a different approach or some way to pivot to something that'll improve their lives. And many are trying to figure out how to contain and comply with whatever needs to happen in this new COVID world, COVID under threat with COVID sort of a world. So business owners are having to think about, how do we get our customers back? How do we get our teams back? How do we get a more functional environment? How do we cope with what's going on now? How do we reintegrate staff and team and bring on board new people and maybe let go some people? And how do we lead? And how do we pull these teams together in a really difficult situation and make that situation work? And sometimes it's the way we think about these things. Sometimes it's the stories that we tell ourselves or that we tell others that might not actually be on target. And the stories that we tell ourselves about how we behave or why we behave that way or why somebody else did whatever they did, they lie at the core of this challenge, the challenge that we face. So let's look at a few key reentry points and tips and tricks that might make your life a little bit easier. Now, these might appear simple, they might appear easy, but we've noticed that very few people even try to get under the hood of this, or to really try to implement them effectively. So, reentry. What do you need to consider when it comes to reentry? Chances are that COVID preparations are really going to vary depending on your country, your county, your city, the industry you're in, government regulations, and all of those pieces. But the areas where our tools come in handy, where our models, where our frameworks, where our expertise and wisdom that can help you are the people side of this challenge. So here's our first one, which is the ability to adapt to a shifting context. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen this commercial. If you're watching in the US, you might not have, but it's an air freshener commercial. So in the commercial, one version of it, there's a teenage boy. his gym bag and clothes are sitting in the room, and the parents walk in and they're like, ooh, what is that funky smell? And another version of it, guests are entering the home and the person has cats, and it's like the size of the cat smell is massive to the guests, but the size of the cat smell is small to the people who live with the cat. And there's a version of the dog as well. So whether it's the prevalent gym bag or shoes or kitty or dog smell, what the commercial is making a point of is that people become nose blind to the smells that they're used to. So they're just not, they're not sensing it because they've adapted to the context. They've adapted to this increasing smell. And that is very similar to what we do as humans. Our psyches, our senses get so tuned into the stuff around us that it becomes normal. So our research into one of the core analytical components of the component that forms the sound spiral dynamics analysis is this notion of context, this notion of knowing what's happening in the space and the times and the place of who and where we are, and of who and where those around us are. So there was an experiment, and what we found in our work with our clients is that they are similarly context blind, just as much as the nose blind commercial conveys. So as an example, there was an experiment, a social experiment with a person in a gorilla suit. And he'd show up, and whether it was on a college campus or in a basketball game, people missed the guy in the gorilla suit. Now, you might say, that would never happen to me. I could not possibly miss that. Well, the majority of people said that, and the majority of people missed the gorilla suit, the guy in the gorilla suit. So, and that happened over and over and over again. So we use a very unique process to read the environmental-social conditions of a particular context organizationally. That's the culture of the organization that we're blind to. And we are like goldfish in our goldfish tanks and bowls. So reentry can be managed very effectively with an opportunity to break previous habits, bad habits. This becomes possible if you do it quickly in the reentry phase and if it's managed effectively. So if we make it clear with sensible instructions about how to adapt, and just pay attention, people nodding doesn't mean they're buying in, doesn't mean that they're agreeing. So let's tackle this. It's critical to understand the experience that those who are returning have had. So what have you done to build engagement during the time that they were away? What have you done to make them feel part of the family? What was their experience like trying to do their work remotely? Was it frustrating? Was it lonely? Was it difficult? Was it pleasurable? Was it more productive? Was it less productive? So just take a quick gauge of yourself. And how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of both engagement of people in team and also your knowledge and understanding of their experience. And you can go ahead and pause this if you're doing it on the replay. And the reason this is important is their experience, how they show up, how they relate to one another, their lived internal quality of their experience. That's what's going to keep them on the job. It's going to keep them positive, or it's going to have them reacting negatively. It's going to have them looking for a different job. And you might think you've got a full team coming back, and then you might be losing people if you don't handle it well. So next piece, what you want to know as a leader is what is just going on in there? Is it pleasant? Is it happy? Is it resourceful? Did they lose somebody to COVID? Is one of their relatives sick? Will they lose a part of their immediate family? And if you're not aware of that, then you can't have the sensitivity to know how to bring them back or how to do some of the other parts that we're going to cover. So adapting to the new context will be harder. It will take longer if you miscalculate your understanding of the experience. So to manage the transition, what you might do, the transition from being a remote worker to on-site, is having a open session about what it was like and what they learned and what makes them happy about coming back, and sharing their experiences. And it's a way of catching up. It's a way of re-engaging, of centering, of maybe letting go of some of the past stuff and getting into the new headspace of being here now in this place again with these people who maybe we haven't seen in a long time. So it's that process of reacquainting with one another. And so naturally, there are going to be new processes, there are going to be new requirements, depending on your industry, and those need to be shared and mastered. And so if you rely on particular processes, and you know that one is the right one and you don't have to review them, maybe this is a time to reintroduce it. And maybe, yeah, everybody knows it. Maybe they know all the key and the core elements of it. But even though it's a blinding flash of the obvious, sometimes it's that piece of comfort that says, yeah, we're back and things are going to be as normal as possible. And this is the way we're going to reassure you that this is the stability piece in this uncertain time. And it's reassuring for those who need that piece of familiar, stable, predictable, so that they can face the uncertainty. If you think about soldiers who've gone off to war, what kept them centered and stable despite all the chaos around them? Sometimes it was that letter or that picture of the person that they love waiting for them at home, and that story of that stability that kept them there. So be that rock. Find the way to find what is stable and normal and continuing before we tackle some of the chaos. So once the givens are clear, the new elements can be clarified. How do we deal with this? How do we use masks or sanitize or whatever your process is? And then look at the pieces of the remote work. What is going to stay? What's going to go? What worked? What didn't work? What do people want to keep? Are there ways to keep them working in ways that worked for them? Finally, let's make sure we've got that. As a leader, all leaders are knitters. Yep, I said that. All leaders knit. And what are they knitting together? As leaders, we are knitting relationships together. We're knitting people together. We're knitting team members together. We're knitting people together with us and with those that they manage in functional, healthy ways. That's our job. So we're also knitting them together with processes, with goals, with expectations, with strategy, with new structures and processes. So that means it's critical that we deeply know those that we're knitting together. And we just don't stick them together because they happen to have to work together. There's a little bit more finesse in that. And so we do all of this using our spiral dynamics assessments, our unique and proprietary processes, our proprietary spiral dynamics analytical tools. And if you are tackling change, if you're tackling leadership, team building, cultures, people in conflict, our tools and processes and assessments and instruments can help you to work your reentry. And so, again, if you've not heard of me or my brand, my name is Natasha Todorovic-Cowan. I have delivered over 200 spiral dynamics programs in over 15 different countries. We have clients in over 50 different countries. I have worked from board level to shop floor in helping leaders to knit together their people, in helping to manage transitions and transformations and pivots. We've got clients in over 50 different countries. So again, if you'd like to contact me, that is my email address. You could reach me at natasha@spiraldynamics.org. When I'm not traveling, I'm located in Santa Barbara, California, and we can talk about how our scientifically proven assessment suite, and that's rooted in 70 years of research. That's the research base that this work comes from. I am the CEO of the National Value Center Consulting, NVC Consulting. That is the home and the owner of the Spiral Dynamics brand since 1984. And I've been part of this organization since 1998. There probably isn't a situation or a human interaction we haven't seen, that we haven't assessed. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you and your business and your challenges a little bit better. And good luck with the COVID reentry. And please do contact me if you'd like some expert guidance and support. I'd be happy to support you and your teams. All right, this is Natasha Todorovic-Cowan signing out.